Hi everyone, I'm Katerina. As you all know me, and most of you know me very well, I've sent you a lot of emails for the past 3 months. So I'm representing marketing team, and by team I mean 2 people. So what does marketing team do when we do not organize this cool Zabbix conference? Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm glad you liked it. So, when we do not organize the conference, we keep on uniting Zabbix users all around the globe, but just in small groups. And today I'm here to tell you about how we meet our users, fans, partners, and customers all around the globe. And how do we do this? By Zabbix Meetups. Here you can see only the countries and events we know about very well. There are a lot of Zabbix Meetups that are out of our reach. So we started Zabbix Meetups, I guess, in 2013. And back then, we had them quite rarely. It's not like we had them every month. Well, we had, but I guess that's called Zabbix Team Night Outs. So back to Meetups, we kept on extending our reach. And nowadays, at this moment, we are proud that Zabbix community is so huge and that we had and we are having meetups throughout Brazil, UK, USA, Russia, France, China, Japan, Belgium, and many more countries. So it's not always done by us. Most of the meetups are organized by our fans and partners. And actually, you'll be surprised, but any one of you here can organize an official Zabbix meetup in your own country and at your own premises. It could be your house, but it's better to be your office or cafe or any premises you know. So when you find a place, you write us at events@zabbix.com and we start promoting you. We publish your event on our website with all the links and all the info. We promote you on our social channels, which is Twitter, Facebook, and others. Then we write emails and newsletters to everyone we know in your region. So yeah, we like spamming people. And afterwards, based on the approximate number of your future participants, we agree on Zabbix giveaways. So we send them to you, and as you see, it's easy, you have our full support. And while you're already starting to thinking how to feed everyone at your future meetups, and while you're wondering how it is possible to maintain connection with Zabbix community all around the world, I would like you to get you introduced with the people who make this all possible. This is our true fans with a passion for Zabbix. Of course, it's impossible to bring them all here. We still have to go to Cinevilla for a post-conference evening today, you know. But I would like to introduce our Zabbix Meetup gurus and let them share their story. So first, please welcome our Zabbix French Meetup organizer and our Zabbix evangelist. It's Steve Destivel. No, I wanted to. Okay, so our next meetup organizer spreads the word about Zabbix in Russia, welcoming more than 200 people in his Badu office in Moscow for 3 years in a row. You already know this guy, it's Ilya Ableev, head of monitoring department at Badu. And finally, I would like to call out on this stage our premium partner and gold sponsor and the most experienced meetup organizer. It's Luciano Alves, representing Uniredes Soluções Corporativas. So they are creators also of the Zabbix on the Road. It's a series of Zabbix meetups throughout Brazil. So, guys, the stage is yours, and Steve, we can start with you. Tell us how did you get this idea that you will organize Zabbix Meetups?
First of all, I'd like to say something. Sorry, but I think that my account Twitter was hacked. It's not me that posts everything, so sorry. The idea of making meetups in France, it's a status because I saw that the French community continues to grow, and this is my small participation to Zabbix to spread the good words of Zabbix across the country. And this is a lot of work, but I do it with passion. And special thanks to Katerina and the Zabbix team for their support. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. So, Ilya, now it's your turn. Tell us your story.
Thank you. I have two facts. First, we don't need a promotion because we're very big. We have 1,000.
That's not true.
But we never asked to write some promotion because every 3 times we had finishing out free places at our meetup in probably 12 hours after releasing the group or event. And second, I forgot about the second, never mind. But I can say that I started doing that when I personally meet Alexei at the first time in Moscow in 2015. And he is our constant guest, and he first publisher of our meetups. And the public is waiting for his presentations every time when we are creating our events. Yeah.
Thank you, Ilya. So, now Luciano, please, your story.
Okay. So, about the meetups in Brazil, you may know Brazil. It's a huge country, and we start to do meetups to try to be closer to our community. Our community, it's a huge one. Nowadays we have 10,000 people enjoying and working to the Zabbix communities, and these communities is using a lot of channels, like a Facebook channel, like LinkedIn, like Telegram channels. And we think to put our guys together to try to discuss something about Zabbix, how to use it, and try to carry a little bit about this feeling that we have here for these guys. I don't know if you know, last year you organized the first Zabbix conference in a Latin country. That was called the Zabbix Latin Conference, and maybe next year you will have this same event again. So we start working with the meetups to be closer of our community participants, and now you are organizing the Zabbix Latin Conference. So that's it.
Thank you, Luciano. So thank you guys for your dedication and your work. You're really awesome. Thank you, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So the next speaker is Ilya. Am I correct? Great. So
yes.
Please welcome Ilya once again.
Thank you. You all know me from my previous speech. And right now I'm going to talk about my development. Zabbix in Telegram script. Can you please raise hands who ever tried that in your Zabbix system? Some of us can, but probably after my speech you will try that, obviously. First of all, probably someone or most of you tried custom alert scripts in Zabbix because emails and SMS is not enough, and everyone is using something in their own system. It could be a task tracker or some Jabber, Skype, or other messenger who is supporting some sending messages. Every time when we need to implement something with a third-party tool, we need to download some libraries to communicate with that product. For example, if we are enabling Jabber, we need to, okay, Jabber comes from scratch in Zabbix, but for example, if you are using Skype, you need to download some command line tools to send some messages into Skype, and then if something goes wrong with Skype, even not API but platform, your messages can disappear. It was the same in other messages systems. For example, as in WhatsApp, WhatsApp even blocked some third-party libraries, but everyone was happy when Telegram introduced their own bot platform. So bot platform is a quite simple tool. It's a HTTP API which allows you to send something to users. And you can send text. It's very useful for Zabbix. And you can send something more. I will show you what can you send through Telegram. And the biggest power of that tool is that API is supported officially, and you don't need to install anything in your server. You can use only curl, and you can grab or post something into Telegram API. So in this example, you can see that it's just only one URL, and you can send token, UID of user, and some text. And the user will get the text about your problem. But that case is quite simple, and it wasn't enough for me because Telegram has some limitations. For example, you can't get real user ID of some user, and you need to do something about it. And of course, if you want to send something more, you can do it through just a curl. So I developed a tool which helped me to send something through that system. So why my script? Why do you need to use it? I developed it after a couple of weeks after releasing Zabbix platform for bots, and after half a year I rewritten it into Python. And a year ago, I developed the first version of the interactive bot, so you can communicate it even in your mobile device. So ZabbixTG, or Zabbix in Telegram, allows you to do anything which allows you to do bot platform. Let me show you an example. So if you have some alert, you can see a graph, because that platform allows you to send some images or photos. And every user who ever saw Zabbix saw some graphics. So that is very useful for me, but it's not only that. For example, in this case, you can see a map, and if your system is distributed around the world, you can see some maps when your problems appears. So in this case, it's our conference hall, and there are too many people in that hall. Or for example, graphs. We get an alert that our disk space is running out, and we have a graph. We can measure if it's critical for us or not. We can scale it or scale it more and see when something is going wrong exactly. And it also has markdowns, HTML support, and you can format your own messages with links. In that case, you can put a link for event list or for some screen. And it's really easy to configure. You don't need to create some big config files. You need to only fill the action, and the script will parse that action and will cut all the Zabbix strings from that action. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilya.
Let me introduce myself very quick. Wolfgang Alper from Intelligent GmbH, certified trainer, been with Zabbix for, I don't know, 15 years plus. And today I would like to share with you the presentation which is called Zabbix in the Subway, Next Station Zabbix. And let me try this one here. Here it works. So before starting, I would like to say thank you to the Münchner Verkehrsgesellschaft MBH, to the Stadtwerke Munich GmbH, and to Mr. Sandro Gelhar. They gave the permission to do this talk here on the conference in Riga and provided some of the material, so thank you. And let's go ahead. First slide. So what you see here is a tram. Anyone has seen a tram before? Okay, so that's fine. Yeah, it's a tram in Munich, and I like trams. Thus, I have another slide. And what you see here is, again, a tram, a little bit closer than the first one. Yeah, everyone uses them to go to work, to go back home. In Munich, we have a little bit more. It's not only trams, we also have something in the underground. And those that have been in Munich before know this. It's a subway in Munich. It's the older model. It's the Model A2. Yeah. Anyone been in Munich? Wow. So many people, great. Yeah. They showed me the new model, which is a C2 model in Munich, and this is the updated one. And now you might ask yourself, why is Wolfgang showing us trams and subways here on the Zabbix conference? What is the relation to Zabbix? But I'm pretty sure that you already guessed it, at least when I show you the following slide, which is this one. And what you see here is a map of subways. It's a Zabbix 3.2 map, by the way. So you see a map of subways, and you see that some of those subways have an issue. And the next one shows you a map of trams in Zabbix. And what is the missing part is the map of stations in Zabbix, you know, where you get the information when the next tram is going to arrive. So this talk really is about monitoring trams and subways in the heart of Munich with Zabbix. So when a new tram or a new subway goes into service, some equipment needs to be added to those vehicles, and I list a few of them, like video cameras, like a network video recorder, a storage system, and depending on whether we are using a tram or subway, we need some connectivity, and we also need connectivity across all of those vehicles, so the wagons need to talk to each other. So there are some components added, and to give you a better idea about how those components look like, this schematic shows, for example, on the bottom right, you see here the NVR, the network video recorder, or on the top you see the network attached storage, the MSCU, etc. So, and of course the cameras. And let's talk a little bit about how this stuff is being implemented in Zabbix. And basically each device inside a tram or subway is treated as a host and is monitored for availability depending on the type of device. And each tram and subway itself is managed as a host group. Now, if you have a subway line or a tram line, like for example U-Bahn number 9 or S-Bahn number 104, then you have, of course, more than one tram or more subway, and these are organized in subway lines, and those do match nested host groups inside Zabbix. So we're using the Zabbix 3 host group nesting feature. And of course, any device that's being monitored depends on the connectivity of the MRCU or the LTE router. And on top of that, and that was a design decision done by Mr. Sandro Gehlhaar. The idea was really to give as much visual feedback from Zabbix as possible. So for any host group, there's a map created, and you remember the host group reflects to a tram. And we also have for the entire tram line maps. And these maps are automatically created like for each tram, and we then have sub-maps that allows us to look inside of this tram. And here you see the same nice slide I like very much as we saw before. And if I click on one of these host groups here, of those trams in this case, then I get a special map specific to that tram. And what you can see here is a schematic that shows you the positions of the devices inside the tram. That depends on how many wagons there are, etc. So for the purpose of this presentation, this is a smaller one. And you see also the status there already. So we get an idea which components are being used, and we get an idea about the status of those components. Now let's talk a little bit about the notification. I mean, the monitoring is done for a reason, and the reason is to help the service staff. So let's talk a little bit about the notification. So they have, of course, their own workflow, and to make it short, we are using the trigger-based actions, and those actions tightly integrate into the notification process for the service staff to fix trams and subways if something is going wrong. And they're using event acknowledgements. So any of you are all of you know Zabbix, and you know the escalation procedure in Zabbix, you know the actions, and you know that you can use acknowledgements, and we use acknowledgements here as well. So they are really handled, they are really integrated in the workflow. This shows the problem view of subways, and you can see there are some acknowledgements already, and you see some of those actions are being done. We have the same for the problem view for trams, yeah, actually. So I mentioned that the idea was really to support the service staff and to give them visual feedback. So let's talk a little bit about how we, or how this project implements supporting the service. And what's being done is we made some minor modifications to the front-end code to give us some more options. And what I would like to show you is that the service staff can click on the map. You remember the map where you could see all of the subways, and you click on one specific subway, and inside that specific subway then you get this map, and then you can open a context menu depending on which device you click here in this map, and it shows you Einbauort anzeigen, and this translates into installation point. So show me the installation point, and if I click on that one, then it will open up an additional window showing the exact position, and that works for any device. So it works for the cameras, it works for the network video recorders, and it's really, really helpful for those people that need to fix those components. Another one I would like to show you is the position of the vehicle. That is this slide here. So it's saying in German Fahrzeugstandort, and that translates to vehicle location. And if I click on that one, what happens is I get a new map showing the real-time position of this particular device, and it's being done by so we do collect the GPS coordinates in Zabbix, and we're using Zabbix API calls to get this information for this particular train out of Zabbix, and then we're using OpenStreetMap to show up this device. So very, very nice. Thank you. Yeah, and thank you to Mr. Sandro for having these great ideas also. Yeah, and coming to the end of this presentation, let's talk a little bit about challenges we faced. And yeah, really the hardest part is to predict connection losses. That's really the hardest part. If the tram moves, for example, it can be that there's a break, so it's at a position where there's no connectivity, etc. So it's not really predictable. or it's hard to predict, let's put it this way. So really this is an issue that we are still working on, so how to make sure we don't get any false positives. And of course, all of the triggers need to be connected to the availability of the trigger that controls whether the MRCU or the LTE router, depending whether it's a subway or a tram, whether they have connections. And for those technical guys of you, I think we are all technical, this is example trigger definition on the bottom of the slide showing that the problem state is detected by using both the availability of the IP connectivity and the device, where the recovery connection is using just the device itself, and we're using this group functionality like max, sum, etc. Yeah. So I think it was it. Yeah. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah. Thank you, Wolfgang. Thank you.
Yep.
We will skip the questions for now, but you will definitely be able to ask them during the post-conference event, so plenty of time. Thank you. And now please welcome once again Vladimir Ulogov.
Hello for the third time. Where is the thingy? Thanks. So, it will be a rather short report about ongoing efforts for one project I'm doing since the beginning of the year. And this project is called ZQL. And the motto is how to query Zabbix. You keep yourself cool. So, what's the idea behind ZQL, which translated as Zabbix Query language? Oftentimes, when you need to do with something with the Zabbix, either query the configuration or query trends, query history, you have pretty much two choices. Either get the stuff through the UI in the form of the HTML, or write the code using some kind of scripting or programming languages, Python, Ruby, using Zabbix API. And this is all fine and great. So, like for example, this is example what you're going to deal with if you want to programmatically query the Zabbix history using Python. It's all great. But sometimes the normal, quote-unquote, IT administrator, manager, or some people who is not exactly a software developer, those type of people usually okay with writing queries on some languages, but generally it's not always practical or feasible to write the code. Even for people who can program, it's sometimes much easier to write the query instead of writing the dedicated code. And as analog, I say, you don't cook 5-course meal if all you want is the sandwich. So, Zabbix doesn't have a query language. Oh, no, it does now. And it's called ZQL. So, how it's all started. I took pretty much one of the implementations of the Lisp, so there will be no shortage of the braces in this language, and convert this Lisp in the pipeline stack-oriented query domain-specific query language. So what the mean pipeline means each expression in this query language is passing the result of the evaluating of this expression to the next expression. And what the stack-based means, the result of the previous evaluation stored in the stack. Show me what it looks like. This is an example of the Zabbix query. So first, you query the list of the hosts. So you get the list of the hosts and store this in the stack. Next, you apply the filter to the previous result. And for example, find me all the hosts with the proxy host ID non-equal to 0. Next, based on what we find, and again, also store store the result of evaluation of this expression into the stack. Next, we get the list of the proxies from the Zabbix configuration, and of course store the result of this expression into the stack. So now we have two elements in the stack. One in the top, it's a list of the proxies, and in the bottom, a filtered list of the hosts. Then, next expression will merge two results into the single results using proxy host ID from the previous one and proxy ID keywords from the last one. So the result will be stored in the stack. So the outcome of this expression will be information about which hosts assigned to which proxies. And out, this is functional analog of the return. It just instructed the either command line interpreter or API to give you result. So this is ongoing effort, and if you're interested, you can proceed to this URL and try and see if you like it or not. And that's pretty much it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Vladimir.